Hi everyone, Mindy here again today. You know, when the mojo hits you, it just hits you. And so I decided to make a few new cards with some new products that I got from Simon Says Stamp. And this is actually for their texture challenge on their Wednesday challenge on their blog. Texture for me, of course I will. So I'm going to be using this new stencil, which is New Beginnings. And I'm also going to be using the Nuvo Glimmer Paste Moonstone. Now, side note, crafting emergency, I am running out of my moonstone, so I'm definitely going to have to be reordering this. Okay, back to the card. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of white cardstock and I'm just adhering that down to my stencil with some purple tape from Thermoweb, and then I'm scooping out a little bit of that moonstone, and I'm going to be spreading this over my stencil. Now I'm being really careful because there are some fine pieces of this stencil and I don't want to grab them or move them with my palette knife, so I'm being really careful how I apply this. And I'm just going to smooth over all those areas, just make sure I have a nice thick coat to beginning, and then I can scrape off the excess and put it back into the jar because it's just white on white, so I don't have to worry about any ink getting in there because I didn't use any. So I'll go ahead, get that spread over. And this video actually has two cards because I'm going to give one to my mom and the other one is going to go to my mother-in-law. So I'll be all set for Mother's Day. I just have to remember to mail them. That is one of my biggest problems. So now that I scraped that off, I can remove the stencil carefully and set that off on the side to dry. I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to be using this new Sandy Beach cardstock from Gina K Designs. And I'll have all of the products listed down below in the video description and on my blog as well. So it's going to be the same steps using the same Nuvo Glimmer Paste, the Moonstone. One thing to point out when using this is you want to make sure that you clean off your stencil and everything right away because it will dry on there. And I did clean it off really well. The best thing I would suggest is, you know, if you have a tub that you can put off on the side filled with some warm soapy water, or take it right to the sink and let it sit in the sink. I do have a few marks on my stencil, but nothing that's going to disrupt it if I were to use it again. So same steps here. I'm just smoothing that over, getting a nice clean coverage onto the cardstock. Now, because it is wet, it did kind of warp my paper a little bit, but I'll show you how I'm going to correct that when I start putting my card together. So just finishing off, smoothing that, just making sure I have that back into my jar and then carefully removing that. And that is a really neat look on that craft cardstock, or that Sandy Beach cardstock, sorry. So now I'm also going to be using this mom die, the bold mom die from Simon Says Stamp. This has the individual letters and then a layer that you can add to it. So I'm going to use these as well. And off screen, I did go ahead and cut a bunch of these. So I wanted to create dimension with my card. And I cut, well, 2 cards, but I'm going to layer up each letter 3 layers high, if that makes sense. And what I did for this one is I'm using my sticker maker to run these through instead of trying to get those fine lines on the M's. I just ran all of these through the sticker maker. This came in really handy. You could also use some spray adhesive. I think would be really nice. I just don't have any, but I would love to try some. And then once that's done, I'm just pushing down on these really, really well to help eliminate any of the stickiness poking through. And then I'm taking a bone folder and just going into those creases and pushing down really hard. And then I can remove that top layer, and the back side of these layers are going to be sticky. So now that those are done, I went ahead and cut that shadow layer from some vellum. I thought that would help just kind of soften things up a little bit. And then I can carefully remove these from that sheet. And I'm going to use my tweezers for this. I like using the tweezers because I can see exactly where I'm going to lay everything. I don't have to worry about my fingers or my fingernails getting in the way. So I'll go ahead and layer these up. And like I said, each one is going to be 3 layers high. I did do the other one off screen just to save some time, but I wanted to show you how I did this. And just matching those up, layering them up. And I did end up changing one of these to white. One's going to be black. And then as I was kind of going through my cardstock, I kind of make things on a whim. I don't I have an idea for things, but I don't necessarily plan them out very well. So as I was picking the cardstock I wanted to use for my cards, I ended up cutting out another mom from white and layering it on top. So here are my background pieces. I apologize, it's kind of hard to see on screen, but the white and the Sandy Beach cardstock, which I think both of these turned out just gorgeous. This is one of my favorite glimmer pastes to use. And then here's the cardstock. So I'm using some new sea glass cardstock from Gina K Designs, and also this was Plum Punch. I believe it was. Yes, Plum Punch. So I'm going to layer up the card. So I have my main card base as the color, and then I'm putting a piece of white down. And then I have the craft cardstock. Now this is my little trick because I did have, like I said, that little bit of warping there. And I'm using double-sided tape. You could also maybe use some foam to help even that out. But that did help make it nice and flat, and it stayed down because that double-sided tape is really sticky. So now to put these onto the card, I was a little nervous how to get these on there because that is such a texture. I wasn't sure what was going to stick to it. But I went with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. If you've seen my videos, this is my go-to. So I just applied that to the back of these vellum pieces where the letters were. And it dries clear, so if I messed up at all, it's going to dry clear, didn't show through. And using my tweezers once again to hold that so I can get a nice coverage of adhesive on there. And then lining that up on my card and pushing that down. And I left this part of the video in because it did move on me. It didn't want to stick right away, like I said, because it is textured background. So what I'm going to do is push that down and just put some blocks on top of that to help that stick down a little bit more. And then I can go ahead and do the same thing for my other card. I'm just getting the layers attached and using that double-sided adhesive again. It doesn't take real long for that moonstone to dry. I would give it a couple hours. I probably rushed it a little bit, but it still worked out. Nothing came off. It was still pretty dry. And so now you can see I'm checking those with my fingernail, just lifting that up a little bit, and it really was sticking very well. So I was really happy with that. And I checked it the next day even, and they're stuck down wonderful. They ain't coming off. And now you can see I have my mom in black and my mom letters in white, and it's matching my layered piece in there. I just thought that would help pull some of that out a little bit. And off screen, I went ahead and heat embossed this on the same color cardstock as my base. And this is from the EMPHATIC stamp set from CZ Design. And it says, "You are flipping amazeballs." Now, I know both my mom and my mother-in-law are going to get a huge charge out of this. They know I'm not real mushy, sentimental. These kind of have, you know, they're sweet. They're mom cards with this gorgeous background. And then here comes in this fun sentiment. Like I said, these stamp sets from CZ Design are totally me. So I think these are going to bring a nice smile to their faces as long as I mail the cards. And I did use some double-sided tape to stick that down. And I did check this the next day too after these had all completely dried and been sitting out for a while. And everything stuck beautifully. So these are some adhesives that you could check into, or if you have something that works, use that too. Whatever will work for you. These are just what really worked for me. So I had a lot of fun putting these cards together. I really enjoyed how they came out and the different colors and how that Nuvo Glimmer paste looks on both the white and the Sandy Beach cardstock. So this was something really great to try. I love my texture, and these were just amazing. So I hope you enjoyed the video and will give these a try. If you did, please go ahead, give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so and would like to see more from me. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll catch you in the next video.